Welcome to your legislative program, the Gavel, where we highlight the events and activities of federal legislators in the National Assembly. I'm Lanre Lasisi, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this episode. So, what have your representatives been up to this week? Well, it will be up to you to answer that question, but that will be later. I can tell you that some of what the lawmakers were up to this week caught the attention of the country, especially the face-off between the Senate and the Comptroller General of Customs, retired Colonel Hamid Ali. That is up ahead. And in an interesting twist, the Senate is set to probe some of its members. That is also ahead. Let us start with this report on a retreat organized for the management staff of the National Assembly.
The training and repositioning of top management personnel of the National Assembly for effective operation is the reason for this gathering. The Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki, former and serving lawmakers, royal fathers, clergymen gathered here in Kogi State to take part in the 5-day retreat. The clock of the National Assembly sets the tone for the event.
The objective is principally to create an atmosphere of participatory inclusiveness in the way we work.
For these lawmakers, such meetings are very important.
We expect a robust deliberation here, and we wish that at the end of the day, the aims and objectives of you coming to the conference state will be realized.
We are the people who pioneered the establishment of this structure. We made a difference between dictatorship and democracy.
The host governor, Yahaya Bello, asked the lawmakers to operate optimally so that Nigerians can enjoy the dividends of democracy.
You, the unsung heroes and heroines of the Assembly, must operate optimally. To achieve this, capacities must be built, rebuilt, upgraded, and updated.
The Senate President believes a committed workforce is needed for the National Assembly to play its role effectively, and so he calls for a purging of the system.
I want the National Assembly management where people will give in their hours because they know that the leadership will appreciate and recognize it. Distinguished delegates, we have to change. The days are over where files on a desk will sit for days and weeks. Not in the National Assembly that we want of the 21st century.
There are also calls for synergy between members of staff of the National Assembly and lawmakers if service delivery must be improved. At the end of the 5-day deliberations, Nigerians will look forward to a positive attitudinal change from this arm of government.
Now, this matter has moved from vehicle customs duty papers to the matter of uniforms. Yes, I'm talking about the face-off between the Senate and the customs. What is the final position on this matter? Let's find out in this report.
Federal lawmakers are behind these closed doors discussing the controversy generated by the Senate's invitation of the Comptroller General of Customs to appear at plenary on Wednesday attired in the customs uniform. The Customs Comptroller General was invited to explain the reason for a now suspended retrospective policy on import duties on vehicles. Nearly 2 hours later, the Senate chamber is open for Nigerians to view the proceedings. At this point, it is apparent that the Customs Comptroller General, retired Colonel Hamid Ali, will not be making an appearance in uniform or otherwise. This is the third time the Senate is inviting retired Colonel Ali to plenary over this issue. He honored the invitation last week, but the caveat that he must appear in customs uniform has made him unwilling to appear this time. The Senate clerk reads a letter from the Attorney General of the Federation affirming the absence of a Customs Comptroller General.
Giving directive to the first defendant to wear uniform, or quote. 3. In line with the principles of rule of law, court decisions, and most importantly, the declarations sought have been deeply rooted in the constitutional provisions. I hold the view that this matter is sub judice.
And that set off
Mr.
lawmakers.
President,
What we have is not a court injunction, is not a court order. It's a court process, mere process, filed in a court by a third party. And you want us, because somebody rushed to court, to file a process, then we should abandon our constitutional responsibility, then to carry out, to stop what we are doing. It is another dark day for democracy.
it is very important to understand that what he said about the controller of customs not being able to wear a uniform or to come here, I think is totally unjustified and totally unconstitutional. And in fact, I think it should be made known. The Senate should look at this issue very critically and then write a letter to the President informing or restraining the Attorney General of the Federation from his interference, unconstitutional interference in the affairs of the Senate, because I think it's very important. As mentioned earlier, we have three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and also the judiciary. And each one acts independent of one another. And therefore, nobody should interfere with the action of one another.
This is gross impunity. And there is no other way to describe what is on ground between the main issue of an obnoxious policy that went against every grain of justice and fair play in the society on one hand,